Welcome to the Thriving Mayor Show. Conversations with people making the biggest difference in the quality of living in our towns and cities, including former and current mayors and other special guests. Each interview features their wisdom, unique perspective, stories, and experiences shared in a casual conversation. Join us and comment on social media as we meet another leader in the life of our urban places. Hello, everyone. It's Michael Hubicki. It's January the 19th, 2022. This is the first episode of the new year, and I'd just like to wish everyone an amazingly abundant 2022. Today is episode 38, and I'm super excited to get to know better the Mayor of Innisfil, Ontario, Lynn Dollin. Hi, Lynn. How are you today?
I'm great, Michael. Thanks so much for having me here with you today.
And we're both sharing this crazy mid-January blizzard in Ontario today.
It is a blizzard out there.
Yeah, my sister in Ottawa just texted, and she's saying that they're going to get probably half a meter of snow today. And I think we're maybe in for, definitely less than that.
And it's just heartbreaking because I know how the kids were looking forward to their first day of in-class learning today since before Christmas.
And it's a snow day.
And it's a snow day.
Which normally are very welcome, except by the parents. But yeah, that's too bad. I just want to remind everyone that this show in particular is pre-recorded a few days before the airing on January 19th. But I will be live on the show on Wednesday, and welcome any comments on YouTube or Facebook and any posts that come up. People put up afterwards. I do my very best to respond to them. Sometimes there's questions and comments and whatnot. And I'd just like to begin the episode by honoring the land and the Indigenous peoples who've lived here from the beginning. I'm grateful for the opportunity to live here in the Bay of Quinte and thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. In particular, I honor the ancestors of the land, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. This territory is covered by the 1783 Crawford Purchase. Lynn, would you like to also share an honoring of your local Indigenous lands and peoples?
Absolutely. We acknowledge that we're situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history, and that it is part of the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It's shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. And we thank them so much for their generations of stewardship.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Lynn was elected mayor of the Town of Innisfil in 2018 and has represented the town since 1994. First as councillor for 20 years and as deputy mayor from 2014 to 2018. In addition to her duties at the town, Lynn was recently elected by her peers at Simcoe County to serve as deputy warden. Lynn held the position of president for the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, from 2016 to 2018 and has held a seat on their board of directors since 2011. In her role as president, she also sat on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, board along with the Provincial and Territorial Association. In 2020, Lynn was honored with the Woman of Influence in Local Government Award for her contributions to municipal government by Municipal World magazine. Wow, that's awesome, awesome resume, but we're going to learn a lot more about Lynn today. So I'm super excited. Lynn, my first introduction to you, and well, obviously you wouldn't know this because you didn't see me, but it was during your episode 2 of Bring Your A Game, and you were on the episode with Ron Higgins from North Frontenac, Mike Savage from Halifax, and Rebecca Alty from Yellowknife.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and it was a local Innisfil lady, Dawn Mootsie, who put it all together. And yeah, it was great. It was a great time.
Yeah, Dawn's also been on the show to talk about the Canada's Top Mayor Award, And she when I asked her how she selected or got the different mayors for Bring Your A Game, she said, well, it was most of the mayors who people around Canada had been voting for as Canada's top mayors, which is a huge accolade for all of you mayors who were on the show. And it was a really fun episode. Each of the municipalities had questions, and I think I was in second place as one of the participants about halfway through, and then the questions got really tough, and we had to work individually on our own. But you four mayors got to work together collaboratively, so it was super fun. And Don did a fantastic job with the show and Canada's Top Mayor Award.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was a chance to collaborate across, from Yellowknife to Halifax, so covering the whole country, and teamwork really paid off.
Yeah. I think probably that episode had mayors from the farthest reaches across Canada, which is super cool. I'd just like to ask you to explain to us what Snow-Be-Wan Kenobi is.
There's Snow-Be-Wan Kenobi, and there's Optimist Plow. So Innisfil, over the years, we've developed a reputation going back 7 or 8 years now. It really all started with our really innovative library board, and they started they rebranded themselves as the Idea Lab, and we built. We're the first to purpose build a hack lab in our library, the first in the country, with 3D printers and laser cutters, a full studio with instruments and a green screen room and all kinds of really great innovative technology. And it kind of grew from there. Then we started our on-demand transit system in partnership with Uber. Then we started accepting cryptocurrency for property taxes. We started a lot of innovative things like that, which really the consequence of that was having people reach out to us and say, hey, Innisfil, you guys are okay to try new things, which is really not in the DNA of a municipality. Really, we're risk adverse, right? We make a mistake and we end up at the front page of the paper, wasting taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
So but this company reached out to us, and these are snowbots. So they're electric robots that plow our sidewalks.
Oh,
and
cool.
They're really working out well. They're getting a good workout today.
Yeah, great workout today.
Yeah. But so the company came to us and said, would you try our technology? And we said, for sure, let's try it. So far, so good. If they work out, and again, today is a really good test, then we could end up purchasing them. But right now, we're just piloting for this company.
So Snow-Be-Wan Kenobi and Optimus Plow are the two names that you had a competition. And how many entries did you get in that competition?
We got over 100 entries when we decided to do the contest. And so now they've been all decked out. They've got the big names on them. The kids really think they're cool. Right now, they're operating with a human chaperone that walks alongside, because we were a little worried about the interaction between, the kids might want to jump on them, or that, maybe they would, not be able to get around a garbage can or something. So we've been cautious that way, but they're working really well. We used to have an issue where because they're run on GPS, and it's sub-inch navigation, so more accurate than a human sidewalk plow. We used to get into trouble because in the spring we'd get residents complaining that we plowed up the edge of their grass.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen with Obi-Wan's Snow-Be.
Well, that is really, really interesting. Now, and I found this out on your Twitter feed. You tweeted it, and I'm wondering if at some point somebody at the town can upload some video
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that.
Yeah.
And and the other issue is they're electric, right?
Yes.
So more sustainable option as well. And so we're hoping the place that we have them working right now is one of our older communities where the sidewalks are particularly, let's say, not up to full AODA standards.
Right.
Some of them are, 60, 70 years old. So
Wow.
we wanted to give them a really good workout. And so far we're having great results.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I was on your website, the town website, and I really love the slogan that you have, work-lake balance. Like usually we're thinking work-life balance, but right on Lake Simcoe, such a beautiful setting. And I've never heard that before, the work-lake balance. And I'm wondering, do you and your family get to take advantage of Lake Simcoe and that spectacular setting that you have in Innisfil?
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate to have, so much of the lakefront of Lake Simcoe and Cooks Bay in our community. And if you ask any of our residents, what is the jewel of Innisfil, every one of them will tell you Lake Simcoe. And we've made it a strategic direction within council to make sure that whenever we have the opportunity to increase lake access points, so that those who maybe aren't fortunate enough to live on the lake still have an opportunity to access it. We've got about 46 road ends that we're working on to just make them whatever they're good for. So some of them have real sandy areas, so those are saved for beach access. Other ones not so much, so that might be where we put in a boat launch, or where the ice fishermen can access the lake in the winter. So we try to elevate whatever's best about each of these road ends. And then of course Innisfil Beach Park, which is our largest park, again, has tons of shoreline, about 5 beaches, and lots of property. And I can't thank enough the councils, 70 years ago who acquired all that property and saved it for this public use. And it's just so nice for us to have. And on the other note, that slogan is a lot also about economic development, right? So particularly when we came up with all these slogans, like 5 minutes from desk till dock, it was about trying to attract businesses and employment in the town of Innisfil so that we wouldn't be such a commuter town.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, about 82% of Innisfil residents who went to work had to leave the community. Yeah. Now, of course, that's changing with COVID. So now more people can work from home, and we're seeing businesses move to the town, and it's all about that work-life lake balance.
Yeah. Desk to dock. I love that one too. That's fantastic. The changing gears a little bit, Lynn, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Port Perry, which is in Durham region, the north end of Lake Skugog.
Yeah.
And so when I was, looking to, settle down, buy a home and raise a family, I was looking for something that would be like Port Perry. So that small town feel where everybody knows everybody else, and your kids, if they're doing something wrong, you'll know about it before they even get home that day.
Yeah.
So it does take a village to raise a child, and that's what I had growing up, and I wanted my kids to have that. So that's why I ended up in Innisfil.
Right. And did you, after high school, or even high school, did you get the sense that you were you wanted to be a leader, and that there was this sort of maybe a political future on your horizon? And were there some courses, or like what was sort of that moment that crystallized that?
Yeah, really, no. It was the last thing on the list of things I would ever see myself doing. If I asked my, 13-year-old self, if I told my 13-year-old self what my what my lifelong work would be, I would have been aghast, because my at that time my goal was to just travel, get anywhere I could. I ended up working for a tour company for about 10 years, and being a tour guide and traveling all over the world. And so I got that out of my system. And that's when I said, okay, now I want to have a family. And I was ready to kind of, plant roots. And then it was my father. My father was worked for the city of Oshawa, and then later for Clarington. And he was the one who said to me, why don't you put your hat in the ring? And I was, at that time, I think I was pregnant when he first mentioned it. And I'm like, no, thank you. And then I kind of started thinking about it. And the next go round, I ran for the local council. And that was in 1994. I had a 3-year-old, and I remember thinking I was going to have all this time on my hands when my youngest went to JK. So, and I ran a small business.
Wow.
I had a small gift shop. So I thought, the two would really kind of work well together. I'd be very accessible to the community because they could just walk into my store. Lots of people wouldn't maybe, knock on your door to tell you about a problem with a street light or a pothole, but they would feel very comfortable walking into the store.
Yeah, that's incredible, and such like a positive mindset that you had with a new a 3-year-old, but even to be thinking about it while you're pregnant. And on episode 7 of the show, the guest was Amanda McDougall, who's the mayor of Cape Breton Municipality. And during the whole show, she had her, I think he was 4 or 5 weeks old at the time. Beautiful baby boy, and Emmett. And she said during her election, there was 1 or 2 candidates who were criticizing her. Like, how could she do the job, And it's just hats off to you, and Amanda, and all of the other women who are, showing us that, motherhood's just a natural part of it, and running a small business is that's incredible. What an inspiration.
Yeah, I remember reading about her, and I was just so impressed. And such a great role model. If you can see it, you can be it, is so true. And I just love the fact that that she didn't listen to the naysayers. When I was knocking on doors, people would say to me, so how come you're not home with your kids? Or how are you going to find the time? Where, if I was a man with 2 young children, I'm quite certain I would not get that same question.
No. Wow. That's really, really amazing. So was there a political role model that maybe your dad suggested, or that you kind of wanted to emulate? Not for a while, but when I joined AMO, actually, it was before I joined AMO. I was at an event. It was in Stratford. I'll never forget it. And I had the opportunity. I saw Hazel McCallion there, and I was like, my hands were sweating. Like, it was like meeting the biggest rock star in the world. Yeah. And of course, there's a lineup of people that wanted to talk to her, and I was so nervous. And I finally worked up the nerve to go and say hello to her. And I said, I told her I was from Innisfil, fully expecting to then have to say, yes, north of Toronto, north of Newmarket, south of Barrie, on Lake Simcoe. I just turned, as soon as I said Innisfil, she looked at me and she says, what the devil do you people do with your gas tax dollars? That 7th line needs some restructuring, needs to be reconstructed. And I think you better get right on that. I was so shocked she knew she was intimate with my municipality. So I found out later that one of her closest friends, Fran Ryder, who is famous in her own right for Ontario hockey, for women's hockey, the Ryder Cup. Like, she's incredible. She has a cottage in Innisfil, and Hazel would quite often come and visit. So we got into the habit, if she'd come up in the summer, I'd go and have lunch with them. And
I was so honored when I became mayor in 2018 that she came all the way up to Innisfil to present me with my chain of office.
Wow.
And it was just such an honor to have her there. And I was at her 99th birthday. Her 100th birthday, unfortunately, was COVID
During COVID, yeah.
During COVID, but there was a wonderful book written about her, which I got to contribute to. And I just heard from her son that they're crossing their fingers, hoping to do her 101st birthday this year on Valentine's Day, which is her birthday. So she has been an amazing role model in my life, and such a mentor. And there's been others, the late Roger Anderson, the chair of Durham Region, and so many others. One of the smartest things I ever did in 2011 was break out of my little bubble, which was my own municipality, and run for the election of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, because it's not until you see that broader picture that you understand, you aren't, if what you're going through, other people have already gone through, or they're going to be going through it. Yeah. And the answers are already out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Such good advice. Wow. And it's interesting that you were for 10 years an international tour or travel consultant or leader, and that you had this hesitation to take that next step in politics, kind of. But that's fantastic.
Two totally different rules. That was, and when I was president of AMO between 2016 and 2018, that involved a ton of travel. I'd be in Kenora in the morning and Niagara Falls that night. So it was very much, very much a living out of a suitcase time, because not only did you have to be everywhere in Ontario, and if you've never flown Bearskin Airways, it's quite an experience.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, so you get a window and an aisle seat.
Yeah,
so it's like 10 seats in the airplane.
And in the cockpit, probably almost in the cockpit as well.
Yeah, and the pilot is also the guy who takes your baggage. Yeah. And you get to Dryden. When you leave Thunder Bay and go to Dryden, you get there 15 minutes before you left, because you cross the time zone.
Yeah, right.
And it's just, I so enjoyed seeing so much of the province, but also, when you're the president of AMO, then you are connected with all the other provinces and territories. So then you have to travel to wherever, Halifax or Whistler or Laval, Quebec, or any of those other places to go to meet with those people.
Right.
And then learn how different Ontario municipalities are than municipalities in other jurisdictions.
Wow. And why would you have to go to so many different places as the president? What was your role?
So your role is to represent all of Ontario municipalities. And, so when there's federal issues that you're dealing with, you need all the provinces and territory associations to work together. And I found out that Ontario municipalities have so much more responsibility than any other jurisdiction in Canada. Like nowhere else in Canada is things like affordable housing and long-term care homes the responsibility of the lower tier municipality. Things like paramedics are responsible of the lower tier municipality, and in no other jurisdiction. But when we did have common ground, like working on what used to be called the federal gas tax, which was a transfer of funds to municipalities for infrastructure. It was important that we all work together. And in Ontario, there's one organization that represents all 444 municipalities. And it was interesting in other, like New Brunswick is a good example, there's 3. It's less effective because the government of the day knows that they can divide and conquer. Whereas in Ontario, there's one advocate for all Ontario municipalities, and we were it. So, so although I enjoyed the job, I did not enjoy all of the traveling as much as, because I'd already gotten that out of my system when I was younger.
Yeah, a little less glamorous than probably some of the adventures that you were on as a guide. But wow, take us back to your first campaign, and so this would have been for council, and just sort of the plan, the strategy, I guess, your team, and then the run up and how you did it, and then the kind of the roller coaster and the election night.
Sure, happy to. So I knew very little getting into this. In fact, I was on this thing called Elect Her Now. It was they did an hour-long Ask Her Anything. And I was watching one of the episodes where they had somebody telling women, how to run a proper election. And I sure wish I would have watched that in 1993, because I did everything wrong. I went out by myself. I didn't have a campaign manager. I spent too long at every door. I didn't follow any of the rules I should have. But I had zero. I basically just said I cannot promise you anything because I don't want to break my promises. All I can promise you is that I will care, and I will work hard. And I did knock on a lot of doors, and that's really, really important to make that connection. And I was really not thinking I would be successful my first time. I thought this would just be, I was running against the incumbent. This is going to be lessons learned, and then try again in 3 years. Terms was 3 years at that time.
Yeah.
And I was successful, and it was, I'll never forget it, because it was quite close. And I remember driving to the election headquarters where my father had been a scrutineer. And I just remember looking up the stairs, and he was like, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew then that I must have been doing well. And it was funny, because when I was following the numbers and he was following the numbers, they weren't coming in at the same time. So it turned out it wasn't as close as I thought it was. Yeah. But it was a late night, because there was issues with the polling counts, and it was like 1 a.m. before they declared. And so here we were drinking champagne at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man, that's awesome. And was there like a particular issue that and were you by wards when you said you were up against the incumbent? So yes. you were running in a particular ward and then against the incumbent. And it sounds like it was time for change.
Well, it was interesting, because the community that I represent and that I live in was amalgamated with Innisfil in 1991. Oh. So it used to be its own municipality. It was the village of Cookstown, and it had its own little council and its own council office and so on. And the big issue was drinking water. We had some wells that met all of the conditions as far as potable water. It was safe, but none of the issues around the aesthetics of the water. It was the color of ginger ale, and it smelt like rotten eggs.
Sulfur.
Yeah. And there was a development proposal, and they had just planned on, kind of putting another straw in the same aquifer. And we were, so that was the issue, and that was why I ran. And we were successful in going to the Ontario Municipal Board and having that developer have to find another water source before they could build their development. So I'll never forget the day. I still have it somewhere. I have a jar of water, and it was the hydrogeologist that was working on it came into my store, and he had his hands behind his back, and he pulled out this jar of clear water. And it was Valentine's Day, because it had a heart on the top of the jar. And I've kept that. I still have that 30-year-old ball of water. And it made such a difference in our community that, the calls were coming in when people's water was becoming clear. Like, it was so bad I wouldn't put my kids in the tub some nights just
Wow.
and if you washed white clothes, they were all yellow streaks. So it's not often that you get one of those pinnacle moments that you can really see your work. Quite often stuff is so, it takes several terms to reach a goal. It's not like you go out and shovel your driveway and it's done and you can see the result. But that was really heartwarming to get that result in my first term.
Yeah, what a powerful legacy in the first term to have that water issue resolved like that, and
it's made water a part of a passion for me since 2007. I was appointed from the Minister of the Environment we have these source water protection committees, and it's all about putting plans around the sources of water. So whether that's an intake out into the lake or whether it's around a wellhead protection area, and putting tools in place to protect that raw water source before it even gets into the water treatment center. So I've been on that now since 2007, and it's a passion of mine.
Wow. So you just keep piling on responsibility.
I need to learn how to say no.
Yeah, that's what they say is like one of the most powerful things to learn is how to say no.
I haven't got that mastered yet.
Yeah, and then take us to then you were deputy mayor, which I think was that 2016 to 2014 to 2018.
Right.
So when you decided to go to the deputy mayor step, was that an election or were you acclaimed or?
It was an election, and really, like when I at my very first all candidates meeting, I said, I'm not this isn't a stepping stone for me. I'm happy in my ward. I'm happy in my little southwest corner of the municipality, and I was very content. Then in 2010, the ward boundaries changed, and instead of just the 2 communities that I was looking after, I had another 4 added to my ward.
Wow.
Including some lakeshore, which I'd never had the responsibility of representing before. And I think it was then I realized that, wow, there's some really great communities all over this municipality. It isn't just my ward. And Innisfil is like that. When I was first elected, we called ourselves the community of communities. Because nobody called themselves Innisfilian. You were either from Alcona or Churchill or Guildford or Cookstown or Stroud or Bill Ewart, or I'm going to forget one and people are going to be mad at me. But all of those, that's how you identified. So when I got to know these other communities, and I thought, this is really cool. And then trying to get people to identify as Innisfil was another big goal. It's okay for me to be proud that I'm from Cookstown and also be proud that I'm from Innisfil, just like it's okay for me to be proud I'm from Ontario, but also be a proud Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was, that's when I decided I would put my hat in the ring for deputy, and the current deputy of the day, I called him up, I said, let's meet for coffee. And I said, I'm not running against you. I'm running for the job.
Yeah.
And whoever's successful, let's just go out and the winner buys. And let's not make this personal. Let's make this about the community. And that's the way we left it. And now that deputy, he's deputy again. He's my deputy.
Oh, wow.
So we've worked together well throughout the years.
Yeah, and then so that was that election close?
You know what? I don't remember how it ended up, but
probably not very close then if you don't remember. That's my editorial comment. And then the step to mayor 4 years later. Obviously a pretty natural progression if the success that you're enjoying and the passion that you have for the community. It just obviously it comes through so loud and clear.
Well, I had, when I was the deputy, my mayor was very, very encouraging to me. He really wanted me to take that next step, and he was very inclusive. A lot of communities don't have deputy mayors. A lot of people, it's the easiest job in the world, honestly, because nobody calls the deputy mayor. They
Yeah.
call their councillor, or if they're really mad, they call the mayor. And, you know, you kind of fly under the radar a wee bit as deputy, which worked for me because I was so busy with AMO at the time and wearing the president's hat. It worked well for me. Like my calls dropped from like 60 or 70 a week down to 2 or 3. And usually,
Wow.
because those 2 or 3 people forgot, I was no longer their counselor.
Yeah, yeah.
So as the deputy, my mayor at the time included me in everything. And he was very good at, you know, when he'd get an invitation to, you know, go see minister of whatever, he would say, and I'm bringing my deputy.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so I've learned so much from every mayor I've ever worked with, and I hope my council will say that when I'm gone.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure they will. And that election for mayor, how many candidates were running against you in that one?
There were 3 of us. So there was a former mayor. Yeah. And then there was a councillor who was a former regional councillor in York Region for Thornhill. So lots of stiff competition and lots of issues in the municipality. You know, we went through an annexation in 2010. Morale was low at the time. There was a lot we needed to do to build up the pride in our community and just keep that going, and we have, and now it's amazing that I think you might remember me telling Mayor Savage in Halifax that I was sitting in a Saturday afternoon. This was in 2019 in July, sitting out in historic properties at a cafe and listening to 2 couples at the next table talking about this little town in Ontario that had used Uber, partnered with Uber as their transit system, out of the blue.
Yeah.
And I walked over to them and I said, excuse me for interrupting. I said, but I'm the mayor of the town you're talking about. And it blew them away it blew me away that here I am randomly sitting in this cafe in Halifax, listening to people at the next table talk about this wonderful, innovative municipality in Ontario named Innisfil.
That's so cool. And that's an awesome segue into the next section I'd like to talk about, and it's culture, the recreation, the entrepreneurial spirit that you're promoting and championing in Innisfil. And one of the things that also caught my eye about you and Innisfil was the public art competition that you have for the ice huts. And I've done a little bit of research into that. And again, super popular program that Innisfil has for your art community, which is incredible. And so we'd like to talk about that, the Orbit, Accelerate Innisfil, which are all incredible initiatives. But let's start with the ice huts.
Sure, and all the credit again goes to our Idea Lab and library. So one of the things, part of the reasons that we've done so well throughout the pandemic here is we've always had the philosophy: one town, one team. So it didn't matter if it was the library, the police, whether it was water, wastewater, everybody worked together to help each other out. So we needed to redeploy, and customer service and finance weren't that busy, but the parks people were. We were taking people out of finance and helping out in the parks during COVID. So for the very same reason, our library and the town work together for community engagement. So no sense reinventing the wheel. Let's do it together. And our arts and cultures, a key strategic of strategic importance to us, and our library is so good at coming up with new and innovative ideas. that are COVID friendly. So we did a community needs assessment early in COVID, and this type of thing was something people really wanted to see, art and culture, and we're known for our ice fishing here, our ice huts. There's actually more people fish more in the winter here than they do in the summer, and
wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so we decided to have a contest, and we got one of our local ice hut operators, and we are engaging artists to paint the outside of the ice huts, and as an art exhibit, a live art exhibit. And that's just one of the things they've come up with. They've done a random. We have a trail, Rotary. We partnered with Rotary and built this beautiful trail through the woods, and we have it's a storybook trail. So you stop at each of the little storyboards and you read, and then you walk, and then you go to the next storyboard and read. So just things that can keep people active in the community, but safe from COVID. And then the other one we did last year was one of our most popular, was the Hope Tree. So we have this giant spruce tree in Innisfil Beach Park, and it's covered in lights. And every night we light it up, and then we have a mailbox, and you make your wish, you take your wish and you put it in the mailbox by the Hope Tree.
Wow. And is the Library Idea Lab, are they kind of guided by council a little bit, or are they coming to council saying, here's another idea, here's another idea? And
it's collaborative. So governance wise, the library is governed by their own library board, which does have 2 members of council, but by far it's mostly members of the residents of Innisfil that are sit on the library board. And but we've developed this culture here that you're not siloed, you're not standalone. We all work together. So when they have their communication and community people, as did the town, and they work together on all kinds of projects.
Yeah, that's so cool. You'd mentioned earlier about before COVID, almost 80% of people were commuting to Toronto for work, and you wanted to really make sure that Innisfil wouldn't turn into a bedroom community. And I think one of the projects, the Orbit, is being planned around your new GO train station.
Absolutely. So we are in an extreme growth pressures and have been, and under the province's places to grow, we are a primary growth node. So we know it's coming. You only have to go down the road 20 minutes on the 400 where Vaughan is. In 1980, Vaughan had 26,000 people. Now they're over 300,000. Wow. So we know it's coming.
Yeah.
What we've also heard from our residents is they don't want to become another Vaughan or Mississauga. They want agriculture, traditional agriculture, which is a big part of our community. They really value that. They want local food. They want traditional neighborhoods. They don't want wall-to-wall subdivisions taking up the whole land base. So, and what we want that is also a variety of housing. There's a time when you want, the big backyard and the picket fence, but then there's a time when you want something that's more attainable or less work. Maybe you're a snowbird and you just want to turn the key and go to Florida in the winter. So right now we can't accommodate that. We have basically single family dwellings or townhouses. Mm-hmm. So the Orbit was a design. It's called a transit-oriented community. So when we were approved for the GO train station, originally the province was going to build it, and when we went to the meetings, it was, this is what you're getting, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Then the concept of air rights and basically increasing the density around the station and then the developer's required to build the station, and then he gets increased density to offset that cost.
Right.
So that's when we partnered with Alex Josephson from Partisan, and he came up with our orbit design, and it's something that where we can absorb our growth, build something totally sustainable. We're looking at all kinds of innovative ways to, keep up our reputation as being innovative.
Yeah.
And we're building this, highly intensified area of Innisfil that is walkable community. Everything within it will be a 10-minute walk.
There's and that's fantastic. And I had a chance to look at the PDF, and there's a little video, I think, of it, and there's an illustration that has a lot of nested circles and ovals. Are those all like walking paths that will be planned so that like you say, it's going to be very walkable? But that's incredible.
We're planning for everything. We're planning for autonomous vehicles. We've even had a company come to us again because we've got this reputation. They want to map out our air for drones. They want to map out the streets that the zones will for when drones are like delivering parcels. So we're really forward thinking in this particular section, and it's a win-win for us because it like I say, it allows us still to have some rolling pastures and local food.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that were interviewed or included in that the commentary had mentioned that they'd lived there 5 years or 7 years or 12 years, and one of the reasons they came, or a lot of the reasons they came, were because of the pastoral, rural nature of the lake, the beautiful countryside, and that they don't want to see it turn into the sprawl. And on autonomous vehicles as well, there's such an amazing opportunity to reduce the amount of blacktop, asphalt parking, all of that hugely costly to build and maintain hard infrastructure that we have for automobiles. We won't need anymore because a lot of people might not even own a car. They want to go someplace, they dial up the autonomous vehicle, it comes right to their house, takes them where they want to go, and it leaves. It doesn't have to park. It just stays on its route. And so that's so incredible.
It's exciting because it's a blank slate. It allows us, like if you try to put, like we've got a lot of like old rural roads with like open ditches and gravel. If you try to make those roads urban standard, you're going to have to acquire land from the neighbors. It takes a lot of work. But when you're starting with the blank slate, you can build all that in from the beginning, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's really neat. Can you tell us a little bit about Accelerate Innisfil?
Sure. Again, that comes from when we started accepting cryptocurrency for property taxes. That raised a few eyebrows, and in one person in particular was Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, who commented on this really cool town in Ontario. So that got us down to Twitter in Toronto to do a lunch and learn for their employees there, and got us invited to a bunch of technology conferences. And then from that, learning more about startups and different startups and tech startups that needed a home. So we ended up partnering with Ryerson DMZ and opened up our own accelerator. And so we've attracted several, but we've got space for about 30 right now, and we think that will grow. And we get so anybody who has a good idea can pitch it, and we'll mentor them. You put them in touch with potential financiers, with people, like-minded people in the business who can help them with their, setting up their legal, setting up a corporation and how it's all done. And we provide all of that along with a workspace that they can work in. So it's It's Innisfil DMZ. There's Ryerson DMZ, which is the most successful accelerator in the world.
Wow.
And it's in Dubai, it's in San Diego or San Francisco, it's in New York City, and it's in Innisfil.
Innisfil, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I just scrolled by the on the screen there, the web address for it. So yeah, it's really, really neat. We're coming up to our time, Lynn. I just wanted to also thank you and congratulate you for your leadership and your role model and mentoring that you mentioned a little bit before. And the last thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was the Municipal Trailblazer program at AMO. And you'd mentioned before we got on the call about a young lady out in my area, in the Belleville area, who you'd mentored as well, and just kind of lessons learned and next steps for people considering a life in politics or leadership.
Yeah, so this is something fairly new with AMO. Is they started with this program to help mentor young people who have an interest in politics, whether that's staff or elected, because there's some wonderful career opportunities in public administration. And when I go to a high school graduation and I watch the kids walk across the stage, and they all want to be teachers or firefighters. Nobody says they want to be a building inspector or a wastewater treatment operator, but they're wonderful careers. There's a ton of opportunity. You can move anywhere. You get great wages, great pensions, public administration, working in the clerk's office. All of that is a wonderful career opportunity for people.
Yeah.
And as for elected, I've had the opportunity to mentor a couple of young folks now, and I got to tell you, I learn just as much as they do. It's wonderful to get the perspective of our young people and how it makes me feel so good about our future. Because I've got to tell you, these young people have got it together, and they're going to do a better job than we did in looking after our government and our future.
Mm-hmm. And each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention that in my 30-year career being a landscape architect and doing a lot of work in municipalities, parks and waterfronts and things, that the staff and the councils and mayors that I always worked with, hand in hand, they also get to have that influence, input, participation in the design, steer it, influence it, see it built, participate, and then live in it, enjoy it. And so it's not just about being, in the administrative role at the city, but then you could do, if you want, you can be very participatory and take a lead and so many other things. It's in town and city building and community building and public realm, and the opportunities really are limitless.
Yeah, and it's very satisfying. And you brought up a very important point, right? So placemaking is an integral part of our official plan right now. But one of the best things about municipal government is there is not a day go by that you're not helping make somebody's life better.
Yeah.
From the moment they flip on their light switch, turn on their tap and get safe drinking water, put their garbage out to the end of the road. The roads are plowed, the sidewalks are plowed, police and fire are there and paramedics to look after them. Like, we touch people's lives every single day. And it's just so gratifying to know that you're part of making people's day better.
Yeah, and being a mayor, a councillor, and especially being a mayor is I think it's by far the most important political position, political role, when you compare it to provincial or federal government, just because exactly of that. It has the biggest influence every day.
Yeah, and call me biased, but I agree. And the other really important thing is, in most municipalities, maybe, Vancouver and Montreal aside, in most municipalities, there's no political parties. You vote your conscience every time you vote. There's no whip saying this is how you're going to vote today or tomorrow. You always get to vote your conscience. And that is why I have never even considered going anywhere else except for municipal government.
Yeah, there is in some municipalities, some of the mayors I've talked to, and it's usually been the elections they've lost. They've been part of a block, and they go into an election and say, okay, we're going to block together. This is our platform, and then they don't seem to do very well as when they go on their own. But
I can tell you, and one of the first things I do tell the councils who ask me for my advice is, leave it at the table, fight passionately for what you believe in. And when that vote is taken, win or lose, you leave it at the table. And those people who voted, who opposed whatever you believed in, chances are at the next vote, you are going to be aligned. So don't paint yourself into that block. Yeah. And I will honestly say too, there's a few times when I was passionate about something and I've lost, and 10 years later, I'm glad I lost. They were right.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. What are some of the best parts of being a mayor?
It shocked me because being on council for 24 years, I was shocked at the attention. Like I would wander through the community after being on council for 24 years and nobody would know who I was. Now everybody knows who I am, which it was really quite a shock to me. But I think I love, when I get letters from, especially from the school kids, and giving me these ideas, having again, pre-COVID, having the opportunity to invite, the Girl Guides to come to town hall, and everybody could wear the chain of office, and just inspiring that next generation, and being part of something bigger, and just always surrounding yourself with people who are so intelligent in their fields, and being able to give you the best advice is just, it's it's a feeling like you can't get anywhere else that I know of. But it's wonderful to be part of that process, and just have those young people say, yeah, you know what? I think I want to grow up and be a mayor. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. You're a wonderful example of a thriving mayor, and an incredibly thriving community. It's I can't wait to come up and visit in the probably in the summer. And you can get there through the Tret Severn Waterway, right?
You absolutely can, and we have the largest freshwater marina in I think Canada. It's called Friday Harbor, and I'd love to invite you to come up to Friday Harbor and see the beautiful shops on the boardwalk, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah,
we got as far as Lakefield 2 years ago on the Trent, and then last year got to Ottawa on the Rideau Canal. So maybe this summer or next summer, make it all the way up into to Lake Simcoe, and
that would be wonderful. Beautiful. We'd love to see you.
Yeah, awesome. Would you like to share any last words, Lynn?
I just want to thank you, Michael. It's been fun, and I've never seen 45 minutes go by so fast.
It did, didn't it? It's incredible. Oh, wonderful. Well, thanks again, Lynn, and stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your beautiful community and the snow. And make sure to remind our fishermen to stay off the thin ice.
Yes.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining the Thriving Mayor Show. Make sure to like and share, and tell your friends and colleagues. Mayors are awesome and are the change agents to enhance the quality of living for over 80% of us. Remember what Coach Wooden said, you cannot live a perfect day without doing something for someone who can never repay you. Much love and peace. Until next time.